I'm very pleased to be speaking about the subject tonight, speaking with you about it, because I think about it a great deal. I think a lot about children, and the idea of even one child being harmed appalls me. I might not have been here. I might have been down the bottom of the Eastern Mediterranean with 15 other people, because we were rammed on the morning of the 30th in the dark, and on about an 8-foot sea, and with about a force 4 to 5 wind, when there was a hell of a noise on the bow, and another across on the port beam from where I was sitting, retching in the saloon. Anyway, the boat was strongly made. We survived, and then we spent 3 days in Lebanon. It was quite an exhausting thing, really, but also very exciting and encouraging. And I came back home, not to be in Gaza, and I suppose I spent most of the next 3 weeks weeping for my brothers and sisters in Gaza during the Shoah. I'll speak of that a little bit later, but this is not about Gaza, especially. It's about what we do to each other. And I want you to project your imaginations tonight. England is a very safe place because we have Trident missiles and cruise missiles and all the rest of it. But it's not so safe if you're sitting in Gaza. And 5 weeks ago, imagine this was a mosque, and they actually used missiles or bombs or shells, artillery shells, on 40 mosques. 40 were destroyed or very severely damaged on the pretense that they had arms in the basement. Now, make war history. I'm going to speak about the fertile ground for the seed of evil. In other words, how do wars get going? Why do they succeed? Why do we march to war? And the first thing, and the most important, I think, or one of the important things, is the Y chromosome, the male. There have been exceptions. There was Grace O'Malley, who was a fighting Irish queen, who certainly did fight, and also had children as well in 16th century Ireland. There was Madame Thatcher, who was certainly, the leaderine was certainly a warrior. And of course we have Mrs. Livni, who in Gaza, in Israel. We have a gullible and ill-informed citizenry. We have the Afghan invasion and occupation, but there is no attempt to ask why the UK is there. You hear the mantra on Spotlight Southwest as they bring yet another Marine home in a box about him sacrificing his life for his country. There is no mention of hydrocarbon reserves in the Caspian Basin or of its long frontier with Iran. Another feature of the human is that many are barbaric, racist, or supremacist. These characteristics were demonstrated in the Shoah, the Holocaust, promised by the Deputy Defense Minister Matan Vilnai 1 year ago. And this started with the bombing and shelling of Gaza on the 27th of December. There were something like 200 people killed, I think, in the first 15 minutes. 92% of the Israeli population has approved of this Shoah by poll. Religious belief in one's own rightness and righteousness, the rifle in one hand, the Bible in the other. Supremacist, exclusive closeness as seen currently in Palestine. And then there's another feature, the other, a potent driver of aggression against other humans separated by language or skin pigment. Now, so that's what they can work on. What is the source of evil? And in this brief part, I will in fact row parallel with my friend Chris Coverdale. We have perverted and unaccountable governments. We have greed for natural resources, and this is something which people don't consider very often. And through the possession of those natural resources, we can control competing powers. So this is a big reason the main reason really probably why there is, who knows what PNAC is? PNAC. Hands up. One. God, how many? There's about 6 or 7 I can see through my rather high-powered specs. Project of the New American Century. They're halfway there actually, but it must be read, and it is chilling. But what it requires is the domination of land, sea, air, space, and cyberspace by the USA. The military-industrial complexes were first spoken of by Eisenhower, I think, and then the last, I think probably the most important in this country, is the illusory democracies or elected dictatorships, as in this country. I have no question about it, and I say it without any hesitation. Now, I'm going to speak now about the Third Reich as an example of how they got it going, the machine for war. Fear. There were 4 things. Fear, the post-Reichstag fire. Do tell me if I'm making the microphone bump. Post-Reichstag fire. This was a false flag operation. It was shown to be later on. And with that came the attrition of laws and liberties. And there was fear with that. Patriotism. The fatherland of the Third Reich we can easily equate with the homeland of the USA. It's being used here now, that term, that word. Saluting the stars and stripes daily in many US homes. Oft-repeated words, democracy and freedom. Combine this with solemn commemoration of sacrifice every November. Mr. Blair standing there with his head bowed at the cenotaph. Racism and supremacism. The invention of the Aryan race above the Jew and the Pole and the Slav. God. This is Hitler. The Aryan stands firm, one with God in his attitude to the world and its people. The Holy Bible was quoted over 500 times in Mein Kampf. There may be some echoes in the Third Reich, or from the Third Reich. Pearl Harbor, 9/11. Mr. Cheney, within 10 days of taking office, said they needed a Pearl Harbor. Did you know that? Sweaty promenaders waving the butcher's apron and singing, "Britain never, never shall be slaves." The war on Islam, demonized as terrorists, when we have terrorized, slaughtered and maimed hundreds of thousands of them. Priests of the Christian churches, with their surplices and scarves, giving the sacraments at altars in the Iraqi deserts. The cross of St. George, chalked on the tanks. How disgusting. Given the apocalyptic nature of modern weapons and the massive array of them, think of the French and British nuclear arms subs colliding. 16 Trident missiles, 4 warheads apiece, and each warhead 8 times the power of the Hiroshima bomb. Is it likely that Homo sapiens, or non-sapiens as I call us, will disappear in a global holocaust? For instance, the lawless entity, the Zionist entity, and I mean that, is screaming for an attack on Iran. It is pretty well armed to do that, and it has over 200 nuclear weapons and the delivery systems to go with them. It is so aggressive and irrational, it is quite possible it could use part of that arsenal in attacking Iran.